Our first step for our Kente cloth paper weavings is we're going to start with our base and a ruler. And we're first going to put our ruler horizontal near the top of your paper. It doesn't have to be touching. You might want a little more space. That'll make it stronger. And you're going to make sure you're holding your ruler down with your hand so it doesn't move as you draw your horizontal line. And then we're going to actually use the measurements on a ruler. We have an inches side that we're going to focus on. That's the ones that are farther apart. And you notice there's 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, but here there's actually a 0, and then there's the edge of your ruler, which are separate, 2 different things. So we're going to line up our paper with the 0 right here. So the 0 mark is lined up, not the edge of my ruler, because what I'm going to do is make a little mark at the 1 inch, 2 inch, and so on. And you can see my paper is exactly 8 inches long. So that's going to make sure that my sections are completely even, which will make it way easier later. Now I have a mark at each inch. I'm going to scooch down to the bottom and do the same thing. So line up with the 0 at the bottom of my paper. There's the 0. Here's 1 inch, 2 inch, and so on. Now it's time to actually draw my lines. So I'm going to do my best to touch this mark, and looking at the bottom here, touching this mark, and I'm going to start below my horizontal line. I'm not going to draw it all up there today. Holding my ruler in the center, putting some pressure so it doesn't move, and I draw that line. I'm going to continue to do that all the way until I get to the edge. So touch this mark with my ruler, this mark, hold my ruler steady, and draw my line. Now that my lines are drawn, I'm ready to grab my scissors. So I'm going to cut up vertically and stop right here. And it's actually kind of important that you go right to that line on all of these, because we're going to be weaving strips into these, and we're going to push the horizontal strip all the way up to the top. So we want it to be able to push all the way up. And now I'm going to pick out my colored strips, and I'm going for the cool colors today. You can really choose any colors you want. You can do traditional Kente colors if you want as well, or rainbow order. And I'm going to start with just 1 strip. I'm going to start on this side, and I'm going to start either over or under this first strip. I'm going to start over, and then I'm going to lift this one, go under, over, under, over, under. Once I get to the end, I'm going to just scooch it up slowly, as high as I can go. Sometimes you have to wiggle it a little bit. And I'm also going to pay attention to that it's lined up right here on the edge, so I might pull it a little bit to center it. Now this one's going to try to wiggle around while I do my next one. So that doesn't happen, I'm going to glue with just a little bit of glue down these edges. So put a little dot, stick it down, press it really well. Same thing over here. All right, I'm ready for my next strip, and this strip is going to be the opposite. So I started over. This I'm gonna start under this strip. So over here, under here, and then I just do the pattern, under, over. And then I'm gonna scooch it up right away. Your goal is to get them touching. Sometimes they touch, sometimes it's a little harder to get them up there. And now I'm going to actually flip this one up to put glue on, my green. Just push it down. Now that my weaving is done, you can see I've left a little bit of extra here that might be for fringe later, but I'm going to move on to my Sharpie. So I'm doing Kente cloth inspired designs. So they have a lot of geometric shapes, things like triangles, squares, zigzags, Staying away from things like hearts, smiley faces, more picturesque images. We're staying away from stars, things like that. So really simple shapes, repeating shapes, and you're creating a pattern. So you're going to do the same thing as you go across. And when you go to the next color, then you can change that design. Once your designs are done, you have the option on the bottom here if you want to cut fringe. But before you cut the fringe, you want to make sure that all of these are glued down a little bit. So I'm going to lift this up, put a little dab of glue. The ends are already glued down from previous, and if you want to be sure, you can also do it on the back. And when I'm cutting my fringe, I'm going to make sure I'm not doing it too thin because I don't want my pieces to rip off. So I'm just going to do maybe 2 in each. And I'm stopping right here so that they're all the same length. And you can also move them around a little bit so they're more textured. Being careful not to tear any off. And our very last step is going to be to write your name on the back. And we're going to do it right up here. And you'll also write your class code. And that's it.